November 5th is just 23 days away, and the race is getting tighter than ever. Both Donald Trump and Kamala Harris, they're both trying to carve out their individual paths to that 270 electorals. As we know, only one candidate is going to be successful in doing so. With just 3 weeks and 2 days remaining, let's take a dive into the latest election news. Now, today's trending headlines, they include number one, Harris, she faces new urgency to explain how her potential presidency will be different from Biden's. The second headline news we're going to tackle is Trump's campaign. He asked for military aircraft with anti-missile capabilities and other security measures in lead up to the election. Last but not least, are male voters reluctant to vote for a woman? Harris backers, they definitely think so, and they're confronting this question head on. Before we dive into these stories, let's take a quick look at the polls. Now, according to 270towin.com, the race is very tight. Yesterday, we looked at it and we showed that Trump is leading in 20 states and Vice President Harris has the lead in 19 states. And that still remains to be the same today. Trump is leading in 20 states, and these are not the battleground states. Trump has 20 states and Harris has 19. Now, when it comes to the national polls, Harris is leading at 2.8%, but we have to consider the margin of error. So this falls right in between within the margin of error. Now, really quickly, I'm going to go through the states that both candidates are leading in, so you can see how tight this race is. They are tied in one state. Now, when it comes to Arizona, former President Trump, he has the lead at 1.2%. Both candidates, they're at a tie in the state of Georgia. In the state of Georgia, Vice President Harris, she's at 47.4%. Former President Trump, 47.4%. So the state of Georgia is going to be very, very important for both candidates. Would it be a blue state or would it be a red state? That's what's up in question as it relates to the state of Georgia. Let's look at Michigan. Michigan, Vice President Harris, she has a very, very thin lead at 0.1%. When it comes to Nevada, in the state of Nevada, Trump leads at 0.6%. He also has the state of North Carolina at 1.2%, and he has Pennsylvania at a very thin lead of 0.5%. Vice President Harris, she's leading in Wisconsin at 0.3%. Now, in the state of California, the Vice President, Kamala Harris, she has a very wide margin. She has a very wide gap at 25%. So it looks that California, they're very liberal. We know that that state is going to go to the Vice President. The state of Florida, we have 5.2% lead for Donald Trump. So he's looking very good in Florida, really with all the hurricanes and natural disasters that's going on there. Look like Donald Trump might pull off the state of Florida. Now, he also has a very wide margin in the state of Montana, 19% lead. In the state of Ohio, he's leading at 7.2%. So it looked like he might win in those three states. Now, Donald Trump also leads in Texas at 6%. That's not a huge lead, but that is a really good indicator. Maryland, the vice president, she's really running wild in Maryland. She has 28.8% lead. I don't think Donald Trump is going to be able to close the gap in the state of Maryland. The same as Massachusetts. In Massachusetts, Vice President Harris, 29.3% lead. So we're going to dedicate the state, we're going to give the state of Massachusetts to the vice president. Minnesota, Vice President Harris, 6% lead. In the state of Virginia, Vice President Harris, 7.6% lead. And in New Hampshire, Vice President Harris, 9% lead. So she's doing good in those states. Now, when it comes to Iowa and North Dakota, that's where Donald Trump is doing better. He have a 5% lead in Iowa, and he have a whopping 27% lead in the state of North Dakota, which is really phenomenal. In South Dakota, he has a 10% lead. Alaska, 9% lead. Indiana, former President Donald Trump, 16.5% lead. In Nebraska, Vice President Harris leads at 8.4%. In Delaware, she leads at 18.5%, which is pretty remarkable. in all of New York, which Trump really wanted to turn the state of New York red. He's going to have a bit of a struggle because Vice President Harris is showing a 13.5% lead in the state of New York. Colorado, 11% lead to Vice President Harris. Harris leads in all New Mexico polls at 7.6% lead. She also leads in Connecticut at 16% lead and Rhode Island at 16.5% lead. Maine, she has a 13% lead. And matter of fact, there's two polls in Maine, one showing 13% lead, the other showing 27% lead. So in those states that we just listed, we think it's a clear indicator that Harris will pull off. Let's see, that's 8 states that she will pretty much pull off, with the exception of New Mexico. That might turn to Trump with all of the migrant crisis going on in that region of the world. That might turn to Trump. She only have a 7.6% lead there. That could kind of still go either way. Now, in Maine, we have a third poll that's showing Trump being 1% in the lead. And then when it comes to the state of Missouri, Trump leads at 11.5%. Arkansas, 15% going to Donald Trump. And when it comes to the state of Washington, Vice President Harris, she leads at 21%. Oklahoma, Trump leads at 16%. Nebraska, West Virginia, and Utah are all Trumps. Nebraska giving Trump 17%. West Virginia gives Trump 27%, and the state of Utah 32%, which is a very huge lead. Not as huge as what Vice President Harris has in Vermont. She's leading at 41% in the state of Vermont, and in Oregon, she leads at 5%. Now, that is the national polls. Now, when it comes to battleground state, the former president, Donald Trump, still takes the lead. Yesterday, out of the 7 battleground states, Donald Trump led in 6 of those states. It remains the same today. Out of the 7 battleground states, Donald Trump has a 6-state lead over Vice President Harris. On the top battleground national, when you look at all the battleground states, Trump leads at 0.4%. When it comes to Arizona, 0.5%. When it comes to Nevada, 0.2%. Vice President Harris, she has Wisconsin at 0.3%. Michigan goes to Donald Trump at 0.9%. He also has Pennsylvania, 0.4%. He has North Carolina, 0.5%. And he wins in Georgia at 0.5% as well. So if these are any indicators, then the former president, Donald Trump, he's going to have a very good election day. The last thing we're going to look at is early voting. So there has been early voting. There has been mail-in ballots and early voting. Now, when it comes to the state of Arizona, it looked like the Republicans are leading in the state of Arizona. Now, when it comes to the state of Connecticut, the Democrats are leading. Let's look at Delaware. Delaware shows the Democrats leading. In Delaware, they had 16,223 mail-in ballots. And with those, the Democrats is in a whopping lead. The state of Florida, they had 363,083 mail-in ballots. The Democrats are leading in the state of Florida with the mail-in ballots. Now, the state of Georgia, they had mail-in ballots, but it's not broken down to who's leading and who's not leading. When it comes to Idaho, there was 51,141 mail-in ballots, and the Republicans take the lead there. Then we're going to look at the state of Kentucky, where we have 14,722 mail-in ballots, and the Democrats are in the lead in the state of Kentucky. In the state of Maine, there's 50,677 advanced ballots, and the Democrats take the lead in the state of Maine. Maryland, 231,841 mail-in ballots, and that goes to the Democrats once again. And then when we look at the state of Michigan, there's over 500,000 advanced ballots, but they have not broken down as to who leads in the state of Michigan. The same goes true with Mississippi and Minnesota. Let's look at Montana. The same thing. They have not broken down who leads in the state of Minnesota. Now, in the state of Nebraska, you have 697 early in-person votes, and you have 51,256 mail-in ballots. On the mail-in ballots, the Democrats take the lead. On the early in-person votes, the Republicans take the lead. So it's kind of a mix there in, it's kind of a mix there in Nebraska. Now, when we look at Nevada, you got 5,202 mail-in ballots in which the Republicans are leading in that particular state. And then in the state of New Jersey, out of 312,523 mail-in ballots, the Democrats are leading. And then New Mexico, the early voting was 22,873 in person and 1,275 mail-in ballots. Now, when it comes to both the in-person and the mail-in ballots, the Democrats, they are in the lead. However, the Republicans, they're not far behind them in the state of New Mexico. So New Mexico still can go any way. North Carolina, when it comes to North Carolina, they casted 44,492 mail-in ballots. The Democrats do have a slight lead in North Carolina. When it comes to North Dakota, they have not tallied up who's in the lead. The same thing in Ohio. Now let's look at Oklahoma. In Oklahoma, you got 18,755 mail-in votes, and the Republicans are leading in the state of Oklahoma. When it comes to Pennsylvania, 416,652 advanced ballots, and the Democrats, they are leading in Pennsylvania. Now we see the polls are showing that Donald Trump is leading in the state of Pennsylvania, both in the national and in the battleground polls. So with the mail-in or the advanced votes, the Vice President Harris, she's currently leading right now. So the day of the election is really going to determine the state of Pennsylvania. When it comes to Rhode Island, 422 mail-in votes, and that goes to the Democrats. South Carolina, they have not tallied up the votes. Let's look at South Dakota, 22,868 advanced ballots. Republicans are leading in South Dakota. Texas, they have not tallied up the votes. Vermont, they have not tallied up the votes. Let's take a look at Virginia. The same thing for Virginia. West Virginia, 4,433 mail-in ballots. And the lead goes to the Democrats, but it's just a slight lead. Same thing with Wisconsin, they have not tallied up. And finally, Wyoming, they have 8,254 advanced ballots in which the Republicans have a huge lead in the state of Wyoming. So this race is really all over the place. It's a tight race, very tight race. This is not easy to determine who's going to actually win. But if we went by the traditional polling, then we're going to put former President Donald Trump in lead. If we go off of what's been going on the ground, boots on the ground, Donald Trump still is leading. Vice President Harris, she's just getting on a media campaign, doing her media blitz. It's not going well for her. Donald Trump and his running mate, J.D. Vance, they have been on the ground. They've been boots on the ground. They've been facing the tough questions from journalists. Now, this is something that the Harris team has not been faced yet. Even now, with 23 days away, the Vice President Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, they have still not been faced with very hard questions from journalists. They still begin softball questions when it comes to journalists. Now, in the headline news today, let's look at the Associated Press. Harris faces new urgency to explain her potential presidency, how it will be different from Joe Biden's. Many people know that Joe Biden did not have a good presidency. He's not leaving a legacy that he would hope to have left. So with that, a lot of voters are concerned with, would Kamala Harris be much the same? Would she be just the second term of current President Joe Biden, or would she actually bring change? Would she bring some type of difference to the White House? Her response to this question, because she has been confronted with this question multiple times on from different journalists, and she has no clear, definitive answer. Her only difference that she makes is that she is not Joe Biden. We know you're not Joe Biden because you're Kamala Harris. That's not what the people are asking. They're not asking, is your birth certificate the same as Joe Biden's birth certificate? That's the only answer she's given is, I'm not Joe Biden. That's not a good answer. People want to know policies, Kamala Harris. They want to know, will your policies be the same? Not do you identify as Joe Biden? Not are you the same person as Joe Biden? You have to think that people are idiots to think that you're the same person as Joe Biden. They're simply asking, are your policies going to be the same as Joe Biden? Are you going to treat the economy the same as Joe Biden? Are you going to treat the immigration crisis the same as you did while you was under the Joe Biden administration? Are you going to continue to fund wars the same as your Joe Biden administration did? That's what the people want to know when they're asking you, are you going to be different from Joe Biden? Now, we do know from your stance on Ukraine that you're still going to support Ukraine. You're still going to funnel billions of US dollar taxpayers' money into funding that war in Ukraine. And a lot of US citizens are against that. A lot of US citizens are tired of their money being used to fund wars. Donald Trump is completely against wars. He's calling for peace efforts. And you've made it clear that you're not looking for peace. You're looking to continue to support Ukraine and to continue to support various wars, even what's going on in Israel. So that's what the people are asking when they're saying, would you be different from the current president? Well, would this White House be the same as the Joe Biden White House, or would the Vice President Kamala Harris White House bring forth some type of changes, some changes that are tangible that we can see? And that's something that we don't know. We can't say that it would be different. We can't say that it would be the same. But from your interviews on the Ukrainian situation, we know that that will be the same. Even your economic plan is kind of safe to say that it will be similar to what we see with the Joe Biden White House, because the Joe Biden White House did cause quite a bit of inflation in economic disruption in the United States. And many experts are saying, many economists, they're saying that your plan would cause inflation. It would add to the deficit. It's giving away money, the $25,000 down payment assistance to first generation home buyers, the $6,000 tax credit, building 3 million new homes. The question is, where is all this money coming from? And the answer is, it's coming from the taxpayers. So with that being said, many people think that this would be just a second term for current President Joe Biden. So that's what's going on with the Kamala Harris right now. That's a big headline that's trending. Now, what's going on with Donald Trump is, this is according to CNN Politics. According to CNN Politics, former President Trump campaign, they're asking for military aircraft with anti-missile capabilities and other security measures in lead up to the election. Now, this is somewhat justifiable because former President Trump, he has had 2 assassination attempts on his life. We've all witnessed those assassination attempts. In the first attempt, he actually received a wound to his ear. He was grazed on the ear while he was on the campaign trail. And the second attempt is while he was at his golf course. And that attempted assassin was actually apprehended. So those are 2 assassination attempts on a former president and on a current candidate. So now, that's not what led up to the actual request. What led up to the request is ongoing threats from the country of Iran. Iran has been constantly threatening former President Donald Trump. And with Iran having access to military weapons, this has caused former President Trump to ask for more security especially when it comes to aircraft, because he uses his own aircraft on the campaign, and now that makes him a bit vulnerable to missile attacks. So he needs some type of aircraft that will be able to handle that type of threat because of the constant threats from Iran. Now, I do recall current President Biden. I keep saying former because we haven't seen him in a while. We've seen him now recently under the hurricane efforts, but he's been pretty much MIA from the White House, from the press. So now Biden did say that he authorized the advanced security to former President Trump. I'm going to read the quote. I've told the department to give him every single thing he needs, that's what Biden had told the CNN news, and it said if it fits into that category, that's fine. So as long as it fits within reason, which is reasonable. So long as it's nothing that's outside of the scope of what the Secret Service or the military is able to give to a president, to a former president, or to a candidate, then Joe Biden is willing to extend those to former President Trump, which is really a good thing. So I think he do need advanced security because this has been a different type of election. This has been the only election that I've heard of in recent or in history period that a former president, or a candidate has multiple assassination attempts on their life, and then now threats from a foreign country. So that is one of the trending headlines that's going on as it relates to former President Trump. The last headline we're going to attack is for Kamala Harris. Now, former President Barack Obama was just on the campaign trail for Kamala Harris. And his question was, are male voters afraid of electing a woman as president? Now, Associated Press headlines are male voters reluctant to vote for a woman? Harris backers are confronting the question head on. So that is the question of the day. Are male voters turning away from Harris simply because she's a woman? I think that's what the Democrats would like for us to believe. However, I truly believe America is ready for a woman president. But I think that America is ready for the right candidate. It is not just as simple as your gender, you being a woman, but are you the right woman for the job? I think that's reasonable. I think that's very reasonable. And I think that every reasonable person would agree with that America is truly ready for a woman president. Truly. I think America is definitely ready for a woman president, but it has to be the right candidate. Do your policies match up with the American people? Do it match up with what the voters are looking for? If you're looking for male votes, are your policies going to match up with male voters? If you're looking for women voters, are your policies going to match up with women voters? I think that that's the question that should be asked, opposed to asking, are men ready to vote for a woman? I don't think that that's the right question. I think the question should be rephrased. Is this particular candidate addressing the needs of the voter that she's trying to attract? When you're looking at marketing, if you have a high-end luxury automobile company, you're not going to market to a lower middle class group of people because they don't fit the demographics of who you're looking for. You're going to market to a certain a group of people that fit a certain income bracket. That's how marketing goes. You are a candidate, you're marketing your services to a group of people. You have to market the services that group of people is looking for. it's not a one size fit all. You can't just market your services that you want us to buy if that does not fit our needs. If I am a sneaker company, I'm not going to market my sneakers to a person that's looking for dress shoes. It just don't make sense. I have to market it to that demographic that is going out looking for sneakers. And now, even more so, you're going to have the demographics that's looking for sneakers in a certain price point. They might be looking for those sneakers under $50. Then you're going to have the demographics that are okay with buying sneakers that's over $200. If my sneakers are over $200, I should not consider marketing to those people that are looking for sneakers under $50. It makes no sense. And that's what Kamala Harris is doing with her campaign. She's marketing her campaign to a group of people that's not looking for that particular service. She's campaigning off of women's rights, which is okay. There's nothing wrong with campaigning off of women's rights. But the average male voter are not looking for women's rights. The average male voters are looking for things that are related to the economy, security, the border. Those are things that men voters are looking for. And those are things that she's not addressing in a way that's resonating with men voters. So it's not a question, once again, as to are men ready for having a woman as the president, but it's the idea of, is this particular woman marketing to the men that she's trying to get to vote for her? Now, in this article, former President Trump, he said when he was actually speaking to a group of black men in particular, and he said that some aren't feeling the idea of having a woman as president. That's what he suggested. And I think that he's totally off base with that. I think he really missed the mark with that. I think that black men would love to have a black woman as president. I would love to have a black woman as president. I'm married to a black woman. My mom is a black woman. My sisters are black women. All my in-laws are black women. All my cousins, my female cousins, they're black women. I've hired many black women. I've supported many black women. I mentored the children of many single black women, single black mothers. So I'm a black male that is not feeling what Vice President Harris is marketing, because I don't think she's speaking to my personal needs. So therefore, I'm speaking from experience when it comes to are black men or are men in general ready for a woman to be president? I'm personally ready for a woman to be president. Personally, I would love to see a black woman to be president, but I want her to be the right candidate. I want her to speak to my needs. I want her to speak to the needs of the American people. I want her to speak to the needs of men. And I think at that point, when we do have a woman, whether she be a black woman, a white woman, a Hispanic woman, I believe that she will get the vote of men when she market herself and position herself to directly enact policies that would affect those men. So if you found any value from what from this video, I definitely want to ask that you would support by subscribing to the channel, sharing, liking, and leaving a comment. Leave a comment on the headline topics on what do you think about are men in particular ready for a woman to be president of the United States? Let me know what you think about that. Do you think that Donald Trump is being overboard when he's asking for advanced security measures? And as it relates to Vice President Harris, do you think that she would just be Biden 2.0? Do you think this would be a second Biden term in the White House? Also, what do you think about the polls? You see what's going on in the battleground states. Do you think this is a clear indicator that Donald Trump will be in the White House once again? Or do you think that it's too early to tell? Or do you think that it's going to go to Vice President Harris? Let me know down below in the comments. If you like this video, please take a look at the video that's up on the screen. It's going to give you more insight into this crazy, crazy election cycle. Thank you for joining me once again, and I hope you guys have a nice day, and we will see you on the 22nd day of this election